Okay, so today you're going to see some very interesting things. I mean, really, the first thing that you're going to see is interesting, and the second thing is pretty boring. But the first thing that you are going to see is me really messing something up in a really big way. And I am wearing this shirt because if you're going to come in here and be mean about me messing something up in a big way, nobody asked you. Obviously, we can tease me for being a complete and total bonehead, but since I am owning that and putting this footage out and acknowledging that I am said bonehead, nobody gets to be mean in the comments. You get it. I'll tell you more about what I boneheaded today and stuff in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And you are here for another round of rose information, and we are deep diving into the rose hip, the benefits for skin, the benefits for hair, how it can be incorporated into our soaps. But this week, we are going to be focusing on how to extract it. Now, for me, whenever I'm looking at a product that I could potentially buy, I always like getting behind the scenes and doing the research and seeing, well, how is this made? How did this extract come to be? Why does rose essential oil cost so much? And all the things, and then doing, tests and experiments and whatnot to see if I can actually recreate it and if there's a benefit to do so at home. So this is going to be another round of that with the rose, which is going to be a tricky one. It's not at all like last month's where coffee, it just gives up all of its goodness very easily. Rose keeps it all tight. And so we're going to talk about that, and as well as what we had talked about a little bit yesterday, going to further expand on what happens to the rose petals and the nutrients within the rose petals if they come in contact with either heat or ripping, because both of those things happened in this rose butter infusion that I'm showing you today. And then I threw in the rose oil infusion just to show you that I am in fact good at things. And I know how to not mess things up. But we're going to talk about all of those things, while you watch me mess things up. So this week we are going to be focusing on the different extraction methods within rose and talking about the pros and cons of each of the methods, because with botanicals, unlike with the coffee that we did last week, you can get some damage to the actual compounds, the components that you are extracting from the material. So we are going to be talking about today using an oil extraction. While I definitely mess up an oil extraction within this one, I will be using cocoa butter to extract for the first round, because everybody asked me in the coffee series why I didn't just extract directly into the butter. And the short answer to that is this video, because I am me and I will mess it up. And I am definitely going to mess this one up, but it does give me an opportunity to talk about how heat can impact any of your extraction methods when you are working with botanicals, because we have heard all of this before, right? That like the essential oils, the botanical compounds that we get from all of our plant materials can be impacted by temperature, but no good scientist would ever actually tell you, yes, temperature impacts essential oils, because it's a lie. That is not a true statement, because as with everything within the scientific world, it always relies on a whole bunch of components in order to actually answer the question. And so one of those components within this is going to be the actual temperature. The second component within all of this is going to be how long is the botanical exposed to the temperature. And the third component is going to be what exactly is it that you are trying to extract. Now, in this case, we are messing with rose petals, and so we are trying to extract the rose essential oils. And we talked about that yesterday, all the benefits of rose essential oils, how it is found within the rose petals themselves, and that it does take a whole lot of rose petals to extract some essential oil, because they actually don't have a whole lot of oil within them. And so within the rose petals, there can be a heat problem within all of this in that you could damage the compounds. But we do need to pay attention to that when we are talking about the extraction methods because there are four main extraction purposes or methods within extracting the rose essential oil from the rose petal, and that is going to be a steam distillation, which is going to be your most common method used to extract the essential oil from the roses. And in this process, the steam is going to be passed through the rose petals at the above boiling point of water, so above 212 degrees Fahrenheit, because that's how you get the steam. Now, this is something that you can do at home for the steam distillation, but it's really, really costly. It takes kind of a long time. It's definitely a pain in the butt, and it takes a whole lot of rose petals to just extract a little teeny tiny bit of essential oil. But that is to say that with the temperatures of that above 212 degrees, is that not damaging the essential oil? Well, it still smells like roses, and from the tests that are done, it still has a skin benefit. Although, again, the tests for rose essential oil, they're very sparse. They're definitely more based in the aromatherapy realm. And considering we have talked about this before and the fascinating bits about aromatherapy, a fragrance dupe has been shown to do the same thing as an actual pure essential oil as far as releasing all the happy, love things within the brain, all the receptors within that, if we're talking about aromatherapy. Very interesting research. Definitely go check it out. I'm not weighing in one way or another because, in all honesty, there's not enough research on any side of all of this. Point is, if the general consensus for botanicals, overall is going to be anything over 100-ish degrees Fahrenheit, the compound, any of the components that you're trying to get out of the botanical could be damaged. That is obviously proven to be false in the case of rose because of the steam distillation. Now, of course, that is a different subject because the steam distillation is going to be actually attaching the water itself. The molecules of water are going to be binding to the rose essential oil. So that's different. Let's talk more about steam distillation tomorrow when we do a rose oil. But with solvent extraction as well, you do get a lot of heat as well. They go above 140, 150 degrees with the solvent extraction, which is another way to extract from your rose petals, from your rose. And so, as far as temperatures go, because it's such a short amount of time that it's exposed to a high heat, the overall idea is no, it's not impacting. So, if it's held at a high heat for a long period of time, then yes, it can be damaging. So, what is it? What about what I just did here? I cooked some rose petals. Are they damaged, or did I get all the goodness of the rose? You let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Okay, now let's talk about infusion and, well, extraction via an infusion. Continue to talk about that and use some oils. Now, this is one of the most common ways to actually get your rose essential oils out of the rose petals themselves. And there are a number of reasons for that. Number one is going to be that you are getting the benefits. It's a double whammy within your infusion oils. And so I'm using a green tea oil within all of this. And so that means that when my infusion is done, I will have the benefits of the rose plus the benefits of the green tea in my already ready to go carrier oil. Now, as we know with essential oils, so many of these oils should never be applied to the skin directly. They're too potent, they're too concentrated. And so you're always recommended to use a carrier oil. So this does both at the same time. And so for that, there's a huge benefit. And this is something you can absolutely do at home. You get yourself some rose, obviously get yourself, rose petals that aren't, tested or, herbicides, pesticides, all the things, and definitely wash them and do the jazz, which is why I cooked those petals because I'd washed them and then didn't let them dry. So that's a different story entirely. But then you're going to steep them in your oil for several weeks so they can release, the rose can release all of its goodness into the oil and infuse it, which is pretty cool. Now, I went ahead and put the white roses into a solution, and yeah, I spilled, to show you what to see if there's a difference. And I wanted an opportunity to talk about the differences between white rose petals and red rose petals. Is there a difference as far as the goodness that it is releasing? Aromatherapy people say yes, some skin people say yes, but in all actuality, there's nothing to prove or substantiate those claims because rose, for the most part, they are in the same family. You are going to be getting basically the same benefits. But that said, when somebody is wanting a brightening, uh, you know, cosmetic, for example, they're going to be using white roses. When somebody is wanting an anti-inflammatory cosmetic to, market it as such, they will be using a red rose. Why? Well, I don't know. Brightening and white seem to go hand in hand in general population, weirdly. And red and inflammation, they also go hand in hand. So that might just be more marketing than anything else. As far as I can see, the compounds are basically the same, though. There's no real difference between the two. As far as what you're going to be getting out of the essential oil itself. Now, that is a little bit different within solvent extraction because you are dealing with the absolutes, which we will talk about later this week, probably tomorrow when we're doing the rose water. We're also going to do the extractions via the alcohol and the glycerin. So we'll have more time to chat about that too. But I did want to get some information out about the actual extraction methods within an oil and a butter. I do think that this is a best way, probably the best way for us to do this at home, unless you have, distillation methods, which I do not. The only downside within all of this is like with coffee, unlike coffee rather, it's going to take a long time. Coffee really gives up all of its goodness very quickly, and rose, it's going to be sitting there for several weeks, continuing to fuse and to really soak everything up. Now, to the bruising and the damaging of the petals as well, that is something that with a carrier oil, it is actually a good thing to rip up these petals and smoosh them around and give them some damage in order to release this faster. That's not always going to be the case when you are, depending on the botanical that you're using, but a bruised or a ripped rose petal in this instance is going to be a good thing because it will help your infusion along a lot faster. Now stay tuned because in tomorrow we're going to continue talking about all these different extractions and my opinion on best methods. Sometimes I'm really glad that I am my own walking disaster because what this means for me is that I will never have to fake shock effect content because I just naturally did that. That was the most normal thing in the world for me. Rip the petals off, wash them, put them in the very, very hot cocoa butter. But honestly, I don't think it would have mattered if there wasn't any water on the rose petals. I think it still would have fried them, and that's awesome for me. It was a really fun sound. I did keep it out of the footage, but I might end up putting it in for the scroll screen at the end. I don't know. We'll see. But it was a journey. As far as I'm concerned, rose is a really hard one to actually get the essentials out of. For sure, this is what we're already finding. And for the benefits, considering the majority of the rose benefit is going to be the aromatherapy aspect of it, I don't get it. I don't get it for soap. I don't understand it. That said, that doesn't mean I'm right. You can love rose. It can be a benefit for you. It can be awesome. I'm looking at how it's going to perform in soap, and already it's a pain in the butt to do it this way, and it's expensive to buy the rose essential. So for soap, I don't have high expectations. That said, in the soap in the lye infusion, we had an excellent soap. Do you remember the rose soap that we did last year? It was incredible. And so maybe if I were using the rose into the actual lye itself and not within this oil infusion, we might end up getting good results. I don't know. You're going to have to stay tuned for that because that's coming next week. Sudsers, thank you for existing. Thank you for being you. Yes, feel free to tease me nicely in the comments for this. But for all of you that are not Sudsers and exist here for reasons unknown, I don't want to hear it. It's not nice. You don't even go here, and I didn't ask you. I'm mostly kidding. I'm out of here for today, but I will see you guys all again tomorrow for another round of rose extracts and infusion soapy fun. Bye. They're gonna be mean to me in the comments.